Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Stephanie Domerat. Now, as the legal battle surrounding Trump's deployment of National Guard troops to Portland plays out, 200 members of the Oregon Guard have been federalized and are, as of this taping on October 23rd, on standby awaiting their mission. So who are these members of the Guard and what do we know about what they'll be doing when their boots hit the ground? To help us answer that question, we're joined by the leader of Oregon's National Guard, the Adjutant General Alan Gronewold. General Gronewold was sworn in by Governor Tina Kotek back in November of 2023. He's a combat veteran who has served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Kuwait. He answers to the governor and leads the Oregon Guard, except when troops are federalized under Title 10, when they move under the command of the Department of Defense, which is what is happening right now. So again, as of this taping, October 23rd, troops are now answering to the Northern Command and federal government. General, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate your time, and thank you for your service as well.
My pleasure.
I want to speak to the 200 Oregon National Guard troops that have been federalized and are on standby, as we mentioned. What can you tell us about these troops?
Yeah, so our Oregon Guardsmen, men and women who are citizens of Oregon, and we are actually a cross-section of Oregon society. So they come from every community in the state, and they're your friends and neighbors, they're coaches, nurses, restaurant owners, you name it, and we're a cross-section of Oregon.
Do you know if some of them have a law enforcement background or policing?
Yep, actually a few of our members that are military police in their military duty are also sworn law enforcement officers in Oregon from a wide variety of local and state jurisdictions.
And from all over the state, so
Correct.
not just one community.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I like to look back a bit. A lot has happened really over the last few weeks. On September 28th, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth sent you a memo directing the federalization of these 200 members of the Oregon Guard. What were your thoughts when you received this? Was this a surprise to you?
No, it wasn't a surprise. We had anticipated it a bit, I think, so we didn't know what the number was going to be. But when we received the memo, we immediately went into action to execute that order from the Secretary of Defense. And we mobilized 2 units that kind of made sense. They had had some civil disturbance operations training in the past, and the military police unit, that was a natural fit, of course. And then a second unit was based out of Woodburn. Their infantry is their mission. But like I said, they've had civil disturbance operations training in the past, and so the proximity to the Portland area kind of made those 2 units a natural fit.
Did you speak with Pete Hegseth or someone on his team directly?
I talked to his executive secretary, who's a colonel in the, I think he's an Army branch colonel. I talked to him that morning, and just to confirm that I'd received the memorandum and that we would comply with the order.
Anything else coming out of that conversation?
No, that was about it.
How were these, I know you mentioned a little bit about how these members, these troops were chosen, but were they chosen by you, by the Guard, by the Oregon Guard, or were they chosen more by the federal government? Like, how does that work?
They were chosen by the Oregon Guard, and we did some quick mission analysis to determine what units made the most sense based on the number of 200 and the timeline we needed and the skill set that the soldiers, the units had. And that's how we came to that decision. What
have you been told and were you told about what their mission will be?
Well, the memorandum that you mentioned from the Secretary of War just basically stated 200 service members to protect federal facilities and federal personnel.
So under typical deployments, would we see troops move outside of that small area, like because they're going to protect the ICE facility in South Portland? Would it be plausible to see them move around the Portland metro area, or would they be kind of limited to that area?
I don't have control. I don't have command and control over these soldiers, and that's not the Oregon National Guard's mission. That's the U.S. Northcom's mission, and so I don't want to speculate.
Okay. What kind of training would these troops be undergoing right now in this type of mission?
Yeah, they've undergone civil disturbance operations training, crowd control training, and they learn to discern, what the difference between a lawful and unlawful protest. They're trained in de-escalation techniques. I didn't attend any of the training, so anything I say beyond that is speculation, but it's my understanding that all crowd control training, whether it's police, military, whoever gets the training, that it's kind of designed to keep lawful protesters, to not harm lawful protesters.
What is the use of force continuum for troops, and would they be armed in any capacity?
Yeah, again, not the Oregon National Guard mission, and I don't want to speculate on what level of to what degree rules of the use of force was trained, but I do believe they received training in rules of the use of force.
Okay. About 3 weeks ago, you wrote a letter to Oregon Guard members as they mobilized under this mission. In the closing of the letter, you wrote, quote, "I'll be honest with you, I know this isn't easy. Some people in Oregon won't understand or won't support this mission. Some might even be hostile about it, but we've been through tough situations before. We're professionals who do our duties regardless of how it's received." Why did you want to write that letter?
Yeah, so one of my leadership tenets is I want every soldier and airman to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. And as soon as we received the order, I knew there would be speculation, rumors, conjecture from our force. So I wanted our entire force to understand what we were being asked to do, why we were being asked to do it, and what was expected of our force. So that was the impetus behind the letter. And then the statement at the end, Portland can be kind of a tough crowd when protests get started, and we put our soldiers, we asked them to be in a difficult position, and recognizing that not everyone is going to understand the difference between an ICE agent and an Oregon National Guard service member, it was important for them to understand, but also that we swore an oath to defend the Constitution and obey the orders of not only the President, but the Governor of the Governor of Oregon, and that's what we're going to do.
What did you hear from troops regarding this, especially after your letter, or before?
Yeah, I got a lot of notes or texts or just, a lot of support. Yeah, people appreciated just the openness of the letter and addressing the situation.
What are you hearing from troops now, those who may not be on the mission, but are part of the Guard, about this?
Yeah, well, our soldiers, every one of our soldiers and airmen volunteered to enlist in the Oregon National Guard one way or another, and they all swore the oath, and everyone understands that we do our duty kind of regardless of what our personal feelings are. So yeah, everyone's ready to accomplish whatever mission we're given.
So Portland City Councilor Mitch Green, who is also a veteran, has spoken out against Trump's deployment of the National Guard. He even went as far as to encourage active service members to push back on this mission. He's part of what here is part of what he told our team a couple of weeks ago. Take a listen.
If you're also a service member, recognize that you do not have to follow an unlawful order. There's no insurrection happening, and you're not supposed to use military resources to do policing on domestic soil, Posse Comitatus Act. And so this is something you're taught in basic training. This is something every soldier knows, and my message is for them to remember their oath of service.
So he refers to the Posse Comitatus Act. Can you explain to our viewers what that is?
Yeah, basically after the Civil War, I think it was 1878, the Congress decided that using a standing army to enforce the law, and this is during the Reconstruction period, right, wasn't something that we as a society or as a nation wanted to adapt, right? And so it made it very clear that the Army won't be used in law enforcement, and there are a few exceptions to the Posse Comitatus Act, and the Insurrection Act is one of them. But as Councilor Green said, there's not an insurrection, and the President hasn't declared an insurrection at this time. So, but to answer your question, or to get at what Councilor Green asked, so this has been in the courts now for a couple weeks, right? And it's gone from a federal district judge or a federal district court to the Ninth Circuit Appeals Court, and now back to the district court. And I expect that really the lawfulness or the constitutionality of using National Guard or any sort of federal troops in our cities will be decided at the Supreme Court level. And these judges and the lawyers who argue these cases are they're legal experts. They've studied U.S. law. They've studied the Constitution their entire lives, and they're still trying to decide what's constitutional and what isn't. Now, regarding the councilor's statement that we have a duty to not follow or to disobey unlawful orders, yes, if you if you give an order that directs a soldier to commit a criminal act, they should disobey that, right? But that's not what this is, and the courts are still trying to determine the legality, and whatever the courts decide, we will respect the courts. And this is a pretty interesting time in our history, in our nation, because what the courts decide will form how our society moves forward. And this has never really been tried in court before, so this will help develop the law, and this is how our democratic system of government is supposed to work, checks and balances.
Do you think that Trump is violating this act?
I'm not going to speculate on that. I swore an oath to defend the Constitution, but also to obey the orders of the President of the United States and the Governor of the state of Oregon. And I'm not going to speculate on what the President or the Governor are thinking when they give us orders.
Have you heard from any of your troops that they are concerned about this act?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Have you heard any other feedback from troops who are concerned about this mission, or not really?
I've gotten some questions, and people are concerned because our service members are also citizens. They're private citizens in some capacity in their life, and people have questions, and we just refer them back to, like, we swore an oath, and we follow orders, we follow lawful orders, and no one's asked us to commit an unlawful order or to commit a crime yet, and that's what we're doing. But like our troops haven't been employed yet either.
Yes.
So that's while the courts play this out, and that'll determine where we go from here.
In a subcommittee hearing with the Oregon legislature a few weeks ago, you spoke about the Guard protecting protesters. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, so like I stated earlier, crowd control training is protective in nature. Our soldiers, I understand, have been trained to de-escalate situations, not escalate them. And I think that's just a level of comfort that our citizens need to hear, not just Oregon citizens, but American citizens. And so what I wanted to get across to the Senate was the mission is to protect federal facilities, but it's not to go out and harm our citizens, right?
Do you feel like for people who are concerned about Guard troops or federal agents protecting the ICE facility that they would push back or question the statement about, the Guard is there to protect protesters? Do you think, what would you say to them who feel like that isn't their mission?
So I think people have conflated rioters with lawful protesters, or just criminals with protesters, right? Like, protesting is legally protected under the First Amendment, right? Everyone has the right to do it, but as soon as you violate the law, you're no longer protected under the law. And so that's the difference. But people want to say, well, the protesters are breaking the law. No, if they're breaking the law, they're rioters or criminals in some other capacity. So in my mind, protesters are legal protesters, lawful protesters.
And that's where you want your troops to be able to serve, to protect them as well. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like, the Oregon National Guard exists for two reasons: to defend America and protect Oregonians.
In that subcommittee hearing as well, you mentioned that you would be speaking with the Title X Command. Have you been speaking with them at all?
Absolutely, yeah, just this morning, almost daily, actually, and so while the court battles rage on, and I'll just be very transparent, like, the state of Oregon and the federal government see this two different ways, right? But between my organization and the Title X Command, we're just Army officers executing our duties as best we can, and cooperation is great, communication's great, and we're working together to accomplish whatever the mission is.
What are those troops doing right now? As you mentioned, you're talking to them daily. I mean, as they stand by, they're kind of in this waiting period.
Kind of, but they're doing constructive training, and when they've completed their Level 1 and Level 2 civil disturbance ops training, they're doing what their mission training is. So we've got great leaders in those units who are making sure that our troops' time is not wasted, and that they'll be better when this training period is over than when they started.
Is there anything else you would like our viewers to know about what's going on right now?
Yeah, Oregon National Guard, we're the home team, right? We come from every community, and we're here to serve Oregonians, but we're here to serve the nation as well. And those people out there on the front lines, or they may be on the front lines when they get there, if they're employed, they're your friends and neighbors, right? So please treat them with dignity and respect.
General, thank you so much for your time. It's been great to have you here.
Likewise, thank you very much.